It's early in the morning. The scene, my studio. It looks inviting, innocent enough. I hesitate to go in. Is it the ghost of paintings past that didn't work? Is it the ghost of paintings present that are scaring me to death because I don't think I can do them? Or is it the ghost of paintings of the future where I worry, how is it going to come out? This is why sometimes I'm afraid to paint, and I'm going to explain to you why I hesitate, but I'm going to be brave. I'm going to walk in. Here I am in my studio with work waiting to be done, and I'm still just a tiny bit afraid. I think all creative people are hesitant, unconfident, afraid sometimes of doing their craft and their vocation. They may not admit it. It's a difficult thing to admit sometimes when you're doing it for a number of years. I've been painting in watercolor for 30 years, and I approach something like this particular piece. I've been panning over and zooming in for you. I've wanted to do this for years, and it has been a challenge, and I was really nervous about doing it. And the only way I could conquer my fear is to take it apart piece by piece. In other words, first I had to sketch it out. And it was not precise, but it got me close enough. This is a freehand sketch. I did not trace this or project this. I try not to. I think those are more harmful than helpful. And I did not expect perfection, but I really got to know the piece. I got to know the way the vegetables laid down, where the shadows are, how many darn cherry tomatoes there are in those baskets, what those carrots looked like. And as I was doing it, I was thinking about the fruit and vegetables that I handle, that I purchase for myself and my family, and try to get a grasp at what I am really using here. My own memory, and let's move down to this, and this photograph, which I took. I work from my own photographs. I rarely work from things on Pinterest or out of books. I don't believe in that. If you're learning, it's a good thing, but if you're a practiced painter, no matter what your medium, you should be able to work from your own images and only use other people's as a reference. Before I even began putting this on paper, I decided I would do a grid. I hate grids. A lot of you may work with grids if you do realistic or semi-realistic paintings and drawings. If you're doing portraiture, it probably is a help to work from a grid. And what I did was I took the photograph of this sketch that I took with my phone, and then I utilized one of the options on the iPad where I could draw in lines, and I literally put a ruler down on the iPad and used my finger to draw these lines, so I got semi-straight lines. I didn't want to make the grid too crazy, and from that grid I began drawing the sketch on actual watercolor paper. I'm using Arch's 140-pound cold press. Arch's is one of my favorite papers. And I started from this corner, and I worked my way around, again trying to have the confidence in thinking that this doesn't have to be perfect. I can adjust this as I go along, which is the great thing with working with pencil on watercolor paper and using a gum eraser or a kneaded eraser. I can adjust it as I go along, and my fears started going away. And I was actually excited to start putting paint down. Now, typically, I would take this image and do a color study where I would mix the colors that I want. But I felt fairly confident after working for a number of years with these particular colors that I could start painting it. So the fear that I had of the drawing not being perfect went away as I got to know the subject matter. Of the colors not necessarily being perfect went away as I started painting and doing my initial washes. I think the fear that we have is the lack of what we perceive as perfection. And art is not necessarily supposed to be perfection. It should be an expression of you, what you feel, what your medium is that you use. And I'm not 100% happy with how these greens came out. I'm going to pan over here slowly. I realize they're not representing the actual onion tops. So what I'm going to do is accept that, and then I know I can go in with a pencil and sketch and decide where my dark values, light values, and medium values are. So in order to conquer the fear of painting, I have found I have to work with a number of different sources, a number of different steps. Now, some artists may feel comfortable, especially the plein air artists, in just painting right on paper without these particular steps. But in doing something as complex as this composition, I feel I conquered my fears by doing the right thing, taking my time, and going through the steps that would make me feel confident that my painting would be good, even though it wasn't perfect. So that's my advice for you today. As I zoom in on these carrots, which I don't like carrots, but I'll paint them. I hope you have a great creative day and week, and above all, remember to keep practicing.